make online.
Have the variety, get help, the startup, get help from the people around you. It's like, hey, notice that your clients are not only from this demographic, and you want to reach out to another society like Chinese and Indian and even native in Borneo and in Sabah and Sarawak, right? Look at your demographic. You want to penetrate, you need to tailor-made. You tailor-made your communication, tailor-made your storytelling that hits the feelings of the users. It's like, hey, god damn it, I need it.
Hello and welcome to Startup Zone's Talk. I'm Patrick and today I'm with Azreena Azizan.
Thank you.
She's the founder of TechTariq and I'm very happy you came today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Sure. And today we're going to talk a little bit about Industry 4.0 topics.
Wow, the sexy topic of the year.
Yeah, of course, that's why you're here. But first, of course, we want to know who you are and what was your journey to the Industry 4.0 topics.
Well, I always believe that storytelling is very important, especially to send a message right to the audiences about technology and about policy and whatever. So I believe that there is a gap in trying to disseminate the right information about technology and its adoption to the audience and the potential market. So I founded the community to able to explain the technology in local language. So we are moving into Chinese language and Indian language in the next launch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Local language, you mean mostly Bahasa?
Yeah, mostly in Bahasa Malaysia. And we make it so fun that people would understand how technology is being adopted and being used.
Okay.
And I see there is a demand from the Chinese community, especially on how to digitalize their businesses and bring their businesses on the digital platform, and also to help the Indian community too.
Okay, nice. You said before that you speak like 3 or 4 dialects?
Yes, I have 5 dialects, Malaysian dialect,
nice.
Upper North, Bornean, West Coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up? Or where were you born?
I grew up in Seremban, Negeri Sembilan, and I spent most of the time in KL because I had my scholarship here. I bought a house here. I had my heartbreaking here. So.
That's great. Okay, nice. So tell us a little bit more detail about TechTariq, what it does, what is the community you're building?
Currently, it is just a Facebook page at this point, and we are sharing the knowledge of technologies that we find very useful to our audiences. And through the analytics given from the page book, our Facebook community, there is a demographic of mostly rural outskirts out from Klang Valley to that eager to understand what is technology about. Unfortunately, they do not have the privilege like you and me to go to conferences in Mandarin Oriental and KLCC, you know. But they really want to know what is technology about, and as simple as cashless, and how their business can make benefit just by having a QR code on their Tom Yum restaurant.
Okay.
So yeah. We go down to that level of society to make them understand what is technology about.
Okay, so basically it's about any technology.
Any technology, but of course, in this 4th Industrial Revolution, according to World Economic Forums, of course, they identified the 9 pillars. Some consultant mentioned 8 and some is 9, right? So the technology that being innovated must have the elements of data-driven, cloud computing and stuff like that. So we advocate the use of the technology in their businesses, and then we justify why they need it. For example, as importance of data, like why I need to use Boost, for example, why I need to use GrabPay. So then in local language, I explain that later you can download the report and you will know what to cook more that month. Then what type of people will pay for how much price for your food. So that simple understanding that will make them feel, oh, then I can save my cost for this month. I don't have to fry pisang goreng this month much, So it is that until that level. It's fun to bring them along with the storytelling. So that is the gap that most of the, I think, entrepreneurs, even the government agencies are not filling the gap.
Okay, so that means you bring it down to a level really on a use case level. You show them like what is really the benefit without talking too much the technology behind it, but more like the benefits of using it.
Because I think fourth industrial revolution, the only way forward for the startup to grow is to understand your clients, your customer, your audiences. So at this point, I think that you cannot be in your cocoon designing some robotic hands that you perceive and you assume that people needs it. So and without having to engage with the clients outside and ask them, is this robotic hand can help you to cook or not, that kind of thing. So whether
some can already, I saw that some restaurants using the robots for burgers already, and
I didn't know. Is it in Malaysia?
Not in Malaysia.
No. Okay.
I've not seen it personally. I've just seen some.
Must be Japan. Japan has that also.
Very. Okay, let's take one step back, and while you're here, and this is really what you do. Maybe tell or explain our audience how you explain to your customers or to your other audience what is Industry 4.0, like people might have not heard of it or have heard of it, but then still did not understand because the explanation sometimes a bit confusing.
Correct.
So what is your way in explaining this?
Okay, well, how I explain it is very simple. So first of all, I will ask, or I will tell this audience to tell me, who are you? Are you an entrepreneur? Are you parents? Are you investor? Are you the government agencies? You need to understand who you are, then and to answer the next questions, right? So, in this case, for example, let's talk about startup, right? Startup is entrepreneur, okay? So after identifying yourself as entrepreneur, next question is, which technology in these pillars, 4.0 technologies that you are massively using. Some of the startup are cloud aggregator, for example, right? Run cloud, so they are cloud aggregators, so they goes under cloud computing. And then what are you? Are you a big data a big data company that can create dashboards, analytics, or maybe predictive? So maybe you are on this big data and cloud computing. So identify which technologies that you fall for. So that you fall on. So maybe you can just circle, okay, we are here. Are you even into these AR? Are you doing AR, right? So augmented reality is one of the pillars for Industry 4.0. And then, or are you the additive manufacturing? Are you creating 3D printer? Or are you a 3D printer maker? Or are you providing service people who wants a 3D printing stuff? So you need to identify where are you in that spheres, right? So then after identify which industry that you want to go. So you already identify yourself as an entrepreneur. You already identify yourself which technology that you are serving in, and then which industry that you want to focus on. Okay, so one of the reason why I ask this to the entrepreneurs, every time when I ask the technology provider or startup, they'll say, "Oh, we catered all the industry. Fair enough, which is true, but you need to come up with your success stories for you to storytell that this is this is how we apply it in this industry. And then maybe in next industry, the same but different benefits. You see, you need to be able to storytell your journey in transforming your client from start, from educating them to end. And then after understanding your industry, and then you need to keep educating. One of the core function of entrepreneurs in the towards the fourth industrial revolution is continuously educating, continuously advocating. You need to tell them why you need to move into cloud, because the whole globalization, the whole economic world is moving into fourth industrial revolution. So you cannot miss out on this. And then how to start? Maybe move your data on the cloud, for example, for a start. Okay, I cannot do cloud, I have this one. Well, it's okay, we can do on-prem, but we can still do analytic on-prem, but it's going to cost you, but it's okay. You know, you need to understand the client's appetite to move forward.
Let's move to this a little bit more, instead of from the provider side, from the client side. Like, how do you see the current understanding or adoption in Malaysia for? Well, okay, let's say Industry 4.0. You said it's 9 pillars. is quite huge, right? But how do you see the current awareness or understanding of companies in general in Malaysia for any of the pillars, I would say?
Well, I share with you the visual that the audience can see. So this is the same visual that audience can. It's like a playbook. So the audience will look at it, identify yourself. So are you, again, you're an entrepreneur. You are not the technology provider, yes, but you're an entrepreneur. So I own a restaurant, for example, right? So I am entrepreneur. So which technology that actually that he thinks can help his restaurant, right? So there's 9 pillars. I don't know any, 9 pillars. I don't know any of them. It's okay. Leave that box, move to another. So which industry are you in instead? So, I am in food and beverages. So you know where your industry is in. So then when they meet up and network with the technology provider, they know, okay, I have F&B. So maybe I have to go to the technology provider that have a good use case in F&B and restaurants, for example, right? So you start to see this converge and match. My first story and the second story start to match. So they will say that a good technology provider, a good startup will tell them, hey, by moving your business into digitalization and digitizing your forms and documents, you can do this. Maybe we'll start with your accounts, right? By using QR code, people will pay. You know your people, mostly the demographic of your people, from KL coming to restaurant in Pahang. Oh, that's good. That most people in KL come to pay to my restaurant in Pahang every July to September, for example. So those data need to be understood, and how I can do better with this. So as an entrepreneur who wants to adopt, you don't have to build one because you need to hire data scientists, for example. That's a huge and expensive, but you need to understand why you need it. The first thing is always the mindset. The mindset must understand and accept that technology is enabling their business to move forward.
So F&B is, from your point of view, like, are they adopting well, or what other industries you see they are like leading in this industrial revolution in Malaysia?
Great. I have to thank to Foodpanda, Grab. Grab has 1,500 retails, I think, on board. I think Foodpanda around 3,000-4,000, which is good. That's the first step for them to get this process of buying and meeting the demand of the customers with the food. So I think service sector is the most easiest type of industry that can adopt digitalization. Be it, yes, the only thing that digital in my restaurant is that QR code, or that having that Foodpanda sticker on my door. But the next phase is to make them realize what they can download from that platform and dashboard to understand the demographic of the people. Like, I didn't know I have this many clients who's buy my croissant this month, for example, right? So we need to go down to the why they need next. So it's again the mindset, and to answer your question, it's the service sector, because people usually complains about, it's that you have a phone, but do you complain about your phone, or you complain about the service of your phone?
Okay.
So it's the services sectors who receive more complaint than the product itself. So that's why the service sector adopt faster, because they do not want to lose client overnight. You can change to one telco to another overnight, you see. So same as banking sector too.
Sure. So mainly I heard now about let's look at 9 pillars. You mentioned the big data, big data analytics, cloud computing. There are like things. Cybersecurity is like an old topic. I would say is like there for forever.
There's own animal to deal with.
Internet of Things. I see a lot of progress right now. I'm also in this area, so I don't want to talk too much about this. But I see some companies really progressing well. How do you see it in the manufacturing itself? Because like the industrial revolution always previously came from out of the manufacturing. Now it moves in different directions. But when we talk about more the simulation, the additive manufacturing, like 3D printing, AR, this kind of things. Where do you see the status in Malaysia?
Manufacturing.
Yeah, in manufacturing, and especially in these 3 pillars like 3D printing, AR, but also autonomous robots, right? Is another topic. This kind of things. Where do you see the progress?
Okay. Well, if I can see it in a global perspective, yes, manufacturing is the, for example, in German, right? BMW adopting it, and the way they manufacture their cars, right? Their I series. But if you're talking about Malaysian context, and Malaysian manufacturer. When I say Malaysian manufacturer, you need to divide it into two. You're talking about top glove of the world, or Motorola of the world, or you're talking about local cosmetic in Malaysia. See, local cosmetic in Malaysia have a vast market audience, right? But can they cater that amount of demand, and then for them to move to export their products? Have anyone actually visited their manufacturing line and see how they assemble the product? Is it manually, or is it on a smart belt or something, right? So in SME, I see it has a slow progress. I guess Malaysian Investment and Industrial International Trade (MITI) have come up with this program, and this program is recruiting local manufacturers, and they can go through this program where they will be assessed, and then helps will be given, like after the assessment, and then there will be a report that's where are they right now, and then what can they do first and whatnot. So all they need is to just register to the MITI portal, and then be on board with this program. I think currently they are looking at targeted at 400. I haven't got the last figure, but probably I hope they're reaching a 50% now. But the opportunities is actually more into looking at the local product to be manufactured smartly, so that they can get the export demand. Take soup, for example. All you can see people who sell soups in a bazaar, and at booth bazaar, they taking up booth and whatnot, and they have a supplies and all these big Tupperwares, and they have if it's good, and if they want to go on board on hypermarket, for example, they need to have a certain traction of number of production, maybe 5,000 for them to put their products on the shelf. It's like, oh, we don't have that, we're doing manually. So those are the things that those are people that we need to look at and engage and understand. Do they want to be on board, or they want to keep their product at bespoke level? So you can't really transform everyone unless they have the direction of fourth industrial revolution, or using the technologies under industry 4.0. But some people, they just love to sell a bespoke product because it's more exclusive and expensive. So it always depends on the appetite of the client and consumer. But that doesn't mean one or two times you couldn't find the right customers. You can always find a bunch of people who are actually looking at, we want to produce more, but we don't have the capacity and whatnot. So and as the client, you need to always know that having to open up another factory line is not sustainable. For example, that we have a great demand of halal processed meat, and how many halal processed meat manufacturers that we have in Malaysia. There's a big gap of demand that we can cater to, but how is the capacity of the current local manufacturer are we talking about, right? But the more people say like, here's the money, loan or grants or whatever, open up another production line, but that's not sustainable, because even the entrepreneur was like, I don't want to open another one that is going to cost me an OPEX, right?
So, I mean, basically, if they could become more efficient and effective in what they do, the capacity is maybe there, but just not utilized appropriately, right?
Yeah.
So. this technology could help them really to sell more with the same capacity or like environment and resources they already have, and just get like
I would always suggest that these technology providers to go down to the I think outskirt KL, Kuala Selangor, for example. You will see like a whole lane stretch of manufacturers making the chips that you consume here. The chips, but have you ever go down and to see like how they produce this chip? Is it using IoT or is it not? Can you actually open up to them and tell them, hey, makcik, you can. The moment you open up your eyes, you can just click, and your factory lines just run.
Okay.
I don't have to pay all this salary anymore. People don't come to my to the factory. They have a lot of problems. It's my headache, so I can use this. So these are the things that they don't do, and it's all in local language. By the way, that the owner is driving BMW 6 Series. So they can afford.
I just want to say, it's must be some good business. Right?
Yes.
So where do you see? Because we are already coming to an end, right? The time is really running fast. Highly interesting. What do you see the next steps, or how can Malaysia move forward faster? Besides using TechTarek, of course, because we can help them a lot. But what is the next steps? What do you see upcoming in the next few months and maybe 1 year?
Okay. I hope to see more interest. The first thing, when you have interest, you know that the mindset has been triggered. Okay, so it takes time for this to happen. Even German doesn't go modernized in one night, right? They notice, I'm not going to call it Industry 4.0 now, but it takes time for their mindset to see the progress. So I would like to see more people having interest to understand and come to technology talk, disregard their industry background. So I want more rural business coming in, that chips manufacturers to coming in. I want soap makers to come in. So those just local Malaysian products to come forward and to understand what is the technology about. And us as the entrepreneurs at the startup, you need to tell them what is the next economic pattern trending going to be. So most of the startup will just like, we sell this, bye. You don't connect the dots back to why they should adopt you, right? You need to tell them the whole story. If this doesn't apply, what happened to you? One day you will die. And then if you die, your daughter might not want to take care of your factory line, and then they will just sell it out. Don't you worry? So those are the reality stories that they actually should worrying about. So the interest to be increased, and more startup joining this mission to educate the fourth industrial revolution together.
That's great, amazing. That was like basically one of my last question, but you answered it already. Like, how can startups support that? So you're saying a lot of initiatives, also a lot of storytelling needed. Don't focus on the technology, focus on the
user story.
On the user story, how that really helps you and benefits you on the
have the variety, get help. The startup, get help from the people around you. It's like, hey, notice that your clients are not only from this demographic, and you want to reach out to another society like Chinese and Indian and even native in Borneo and in Sabah and Sarawak, right? Look at your demographic. You want to penetrate, you need to tailor-made. You tailor-made your communication, tailor-made your storytelling that hits the feelings of the users. It's like, hey, god damn it, I need it.
Nice. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
No problem.
I think that's it for the moment. I really appreciate you
No
came
problem.
here. I'm sure we will hear a lot more about TechTarek in the
I hope.
future. Of course, we show you the Facebook page and add the link so you can check it out. And also how to get in contact with you. We will,
There's a send message there. There will be
There's-
next WhatsApp linked also.
Okay.
So yeah.
Great, perfect. Thank you so
No
much,
problem.
Azreena, for coming here and
Thank you for
sharing
inviting me.
your insights and your knowledge.
Yes,
And thanks to you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and then we see you next week again. Bye. Thank you.